Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week's theme of polar opposites, exploring songs that do one thing and then wildly move to the exact opposite. Today we're going to be looking at something from the artist Shiina Pikarin. The track's called Makai Joshi. I don't know anything about this, but I'll tell you, this thumbnail right here tells me we're in store for something perfect for this week's theme. Let's dive in and see what Shiina's bringing to the table today. Okay. It's a very bouncy punk rock with some light punk pop leadings. The rhythmic element in the vocals. This is just a fun track right here. The synth really leans into the bounciness. So what, are we going to get like a metal breakdown at the end, given the growls that we've had so far? Super funky guitar work too. It's just so fun, dude. Oh, the upbeat synth stingers. That's a lot of energy there, too. I love that synth tone, man. Okay. Interesting how much that fills up the space. Okay. Well, I suppose this does have opposites. Almost everything in here is very pop rock with synths, very bouncy, very energetic, and the growls do bring some larger guitar tones with them, and it does get a little bit more of a poppy metal thing going on in those moments of the pre-chorus where we get the growls. And of course, the fact that there's growls in this 99% pop rock track at all is wildly unexpected. I think if it wasn't for this week's theme being about almost, this shocking surprise being pre-revealed to me, it is about opposites. When I hear about a bouncy poppy intro, I'm expecting harsher tones somewhere to bring in some weight. And so it's quite possible that if I had just heard this out in the wild, maybe the growls would have been quite alarming to me. Like, wow, where'd that come from? But it is such a small part of the track. I'm glad I listened to it, though. This was brought up a couple of weeks ago, I think, in a live stream. I remember having the title of this track written down somewhere. I must have put it into a to-do list somewhere because it's not on my whiteboard anymore. And I never got around to checking it out. So I'm glad I got to. Now, I don't remember why I wanted to listen to this. I don't remember the context for this being requested to me or recommended to me, I think. But I finally got to hear it. That's cool. And I do enjoy it. It's a fun little song. It's very bouncy, high energy, and it's got some fun growling in it, which is, well, honestly, let me talk about that for a second. I kind of already brought this up, but the fact that there is growling in it at all is surprising. We have heard quite a bit of pop adjacent groups injecting growling into their music. I think probably the most prolific would be something like baby metal, which has a very poppy style of metal music that occasionally leans into rock. Definitely very poppy style choruses, and they have had growlers in the past, and I believe even one of the current singers, the main three, growls now. So, we're definitely seeing some of that even on a very mainstream level, particularly out of Japan. But there's always this metallic accompaniment to that. It's not just growling in the wild, it's during the heavy parts of the songs. While there is a more aggressive guitar tone that's paired in those pre-choruses, that's still kind of it. In no way, shape, or form would I call this metal music. And almost, I can't even call it heavy. The fact that the growls are there at all without the metallic side, and even as such a small role as they are in this track, is kind of bewildering. I can't say that I've heard anything in the pop rock realm that introduces growling. I think if the song didn't have those growls and just stuck with the clean singing through the, one line, maybe two distinct lines that are repeated a couple times throughout here. So we'll even call it, forget about unique lines. 6 total sentences are said in the growling. It's such a small amount that they could easily still be cleans and not change the song much at all. It is their inclusion that makes it bizarre in and of itself, and I think that's rather interesting. Because even, coming over to a more Western viewpoint, we're mixing harsh sounds and cleans here too, especially in the alternative metal realm. But in rock, yeah, I can't think of anything like that over here. So it's I don't know, this bewilders me. If the song had done a breakdown later in the track and gone full metal or maybe even hardcore, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that checks out. The growls were there as lead up, foreshadowing for what we were going to do here. And I could also assume that this band dabbles with harsh sounds overall, but this track doesn't tell me that. It says it's a bright, poppy, kawaii, cute song, and the band is super upbeat and bouncy and energetic and poppy, and sometimes you get some growling, even though it's so disjointed from everything else the music is. thematically and sonically. And that's what really makes it stand out to me. I don't know if anyone else gets that, but I can't wrap my mind around that. It's so odd. And I find that fascinating. Is this typical for this artist? If I went and listened to more of Shiina Pikarin's music, would it be bright and poppy and dancey, and sometimes I get growled at, but the music never gets heavy? It's such a strange combination as far as my mind hears it. Now, talking about the music in particular, though, this is incredibly straightforward. We got snare on 2 and 4 throughout most of this. It's a very forward, momentum-driven style right there. Keeps the energy going throughout. The drums don't really deviate from that at all. Alternate snare on 2 and 4, bass on 1 and 3. That's the idea through almost all of this track. We have synths all throughout. They give this a very sugary, sweet flavor to it. They're very bright and energetic. They have just enough compression to give them that electricity, that energy, but not enough to actually give them any sort of weight to them. And that allows them to be light but driven. It pushes the song forward. The devices, the musical devices we hear on the synths are either atmospheric. Oftentimes we'll just get some chords in some of the lighter sections. They're either driven with melodic runs, usually focusing on quicker ideas and a bit of syncopation, or they are all syncopation with the eighth beat, or sorry, not the, I mean, they are eighth notes, but coming on the end of every single beat, just that, and just kind of pushing that song forward with that chorus energy there. I don't think the tone of the synth changes much at all. To me, it's a very stereotypical poppy synth sound from the 2000s. I'm curious when this came out. The synth tone tells me it's earlier. The guitar tone tells me it's maybe early 2010s. But the synth tone tells me 2000s. So I'd say somewhere in that 11-year period is where this would have come out. But the growling feels very modern. I mean, this definitely feels like something post-growling in mainstream music and merging of heavier and softer tones, which, like I said, still in the US, Western world in general, we don't really see too much of that in the rock, but in the metal realm, this is becoming more common to have poppier elements and growled vocals. But this is definitely something that I've started to see 2018 and later kind of idea. It's more recent in the last decade or so. It's kind of, I don't know, it's pieces of a lot of things. It had to have been, well, it's either definitely looking into the past or is ahead of its time. I don't think there's any other way about this. It's mashing together too many eras of sound for me to understand it any other way. That's about it. The guitar is just stuffed into the background, man. We get some chords in the verse. We get some chords in the chorus. It's chords all the way through. It's there to give us this rock texture. And that's about it. And so a lot of this is driven by the forward momentum of the drums, the bounciness of the synths, and at times even the bounciness of the vocals. Because, dude, that pre-chorus section where the energy comes down a little bit and the vocals are just like rapid fire, yeah, dude, there's a lot of energy there. That's just momentum, man. Even though the energy has dropped everywhere, the vocals are like, nah, we're getting to that chorus. We're pushing through this as quickly as possible. We're not allowing the energy to die down. We're just allowing it to simmer a little bit so we can punch back through this wall. And that is absolutely effective, man. The push into that chorus, the first beat of the chorus kicking in, bringing the drums back in, giving us that upbeat synths. Yeah, just that works, man. You're just like, you're anticipating it. There's some rising energy on the outside. It's volume and pitch, I think, just coming up. And then you get the big drop. Boom, right on the chorus. Yeah. You kind of go from like a little bit of a simmer into the full bouncing, man. You just feel it. It's so, I can hear the song too. I can hear the backbeat snare. I can hear that synth on between every beat. It's going to be stuck in my head. I can already tell, dude, it is just a catchy chorus. And that's certainly what I expect from pop music. That's pretty much the entire song, though. It goes from verse, pre-chorus, chorus to verse, pre-chorus, chorus to a little bit of a... Well, I guess we should talk about the bridge. It ended up being quite disappointing for me because it seemed to push into some sort of direction. We hit some interesting rhythmic changes there. The energy was brought way down. It felt like we were going to have a dead silence for a beat or two before, like in a hardcore track, a breakdown would come in. A moment of silence to contrast against fullness. And to an extent, they still did that, but the fullness was the chorus, which is exactly what I should expect from a pop track. But because of the growls, it made me expect heaviness. We never got. But the chorus is also a bit underbaked anyways, because it's really only 8 bars and it starts to set some things up, never pays them off, and then awkwardly dives back into the chorus, which is fine for a pop song, I suppose. This is a common criticism I have with a lot of pop music that's come out in the last 15 years or so. Don't get me wrong, I love a lot of these choruses. The verses can be catchy too. I'm a fan of pop music in general, but I have to admit, the bridges are just not something pop music has done well for a long time. I think the last time I heard consistently strong bridges from a bunch of different popular artists within the pop sphere is probably the 80s and 90s. The bridges have become less and less important and defined post 2000s, to the point that oftentimes we don't even hear too much of a bridge anymore. Maybe a 4-bar instrumental section as we have some different chords set up that allow us to bring the energy down momentarily before diving back into a final chorus. That's usually about it, though. In fact, the whole A-B-A-B-C-B pattern has been kind of ditched for an A-B-A-B-C, where the bridge can just take us out of the track entirely and we can forget it and have it as a short outro, or as I just mentioned, an incredibly short diversion, a bit of a variation on something we had already heard instrumentally, so we can put a couple of words over and then get back into the hook, the most important part of the pop track. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we ended up just getting rid of choruses entirely, and honestly, we've done that too. We've heard some tracks that are just A, B, A, B, done. No outro, no bridge, no third chorus. Usually they start on the chorus, so that helps too. You still have 3 in there, helps the earworm get in. You got that B, A, B, A, B, done. No chorus, no bridge needed. So yeah, it's been a consistently weak part of pop in the super mainstream sphere, and it's nice to, I was going to say it's nice to see more of that. I don't know where I was going with that, because we're not. This is a track with an underwhelming bridge, honestly. So that is, as much of a fan of as I am of pop music, that is definitely an issue I have with it. And this track is no different, unfortunately. That's about it, though. Let's hit some lyrics, see if they are just as bright and bouncy and poppy and sugary sweet as the music is. Here we have a song about being infatuated, I don't know why I put a C in there, with a cute girl. The chorus states, ring, ring. It's out of the question. If you're not a girl, it's just a silly romance. Later on, we'll see a variation of this, ring, ring, shining. It's out of the question. Love isn't just a girl thing. The end of every chorus states, no way, no way, which I believe might be the growled section. The verses shine a little bit more light on this. The first one says, I'm so happy today with that cute girl, but I'm so anxious it makes me sad. Another verse says, I'm happy with that cute girl, but I'm anxious. I'm getting tired, or it's getting tiresome. I'm worried about every little thing. Maybe it's too late. Should I put it off? As if they're stressing, about to go on a date and worried about everything, what they're wearing, how they're going to act, where they're going. Maybe we should just put the date off. At least that's how I read it. There is a repeated section that says, getting closer. What should I do? Just holding hands isn't enough. I need to go beyond intimacy. This idea about getting closer and not wanting to just hold hands shows up a couple of times. The final stanza states, when I think about it, It's already morning. What should I do? I'm hopeless, but I can't be satisfied with this. I must be stronger than before. So this idea about finding courage when you're stressed and anxious about spending time with someone you're infatuated with. Yeah, I'd say that this song, being sugary sweet, over the top, super bouncy and energetic, matches that vibe, the stressfulness of going on a first, second, even third date with someone when it's still very exciting, and so much dopamine goes through your body when you think about it. And of course, that leads to ideas of stressfulness, not wanting to mess things up, wanting to make sure you get that next date. Yeah, definitely fits the high octane energy of this track, but also the cutesiness of it too. It is a very light, positive topic. Not sure about the growling. That nothing in the lyrics leaned into that, so I'm still a bit confused about that. But that's, it's cool. It's a little bit different. Like I said, I can't say I've heard too much like this. So awesome stuff. Gonna wrap it up here then. These are my thoughts on Shiina Hikari, or I guess Shiina Pikarin. Shiina Hikari is her name. Shiina Pikarin is the name that she went as under the artist name, I suppose. I did do a little bit of looking up on this. I guess we'll do this for a second before I dive into the outro here. I wanted to know when this came out. And so I went on to Rate Your Music to figure this out. It was 2015, which, yeah, I guess that matches. It still feels a little ahead of its time with the growling, maybe just a little bit. I guess Baby Metal was around that time. They would have released their first or second album, but it still feels quite a bit earlier than I would expect, and still really early for the idea of mixing growls with pop rock. So very interesting there, but it does borrow sounds from before its time as well, looking backward a little bit while keeping a foot into the future. But I did find out that it was that this person didn't change their name. They had a stage name, which is Shiina Pikarin. All right, that's gonna wrap it all up. These are my thoughts then on Shiina Pikarin's. What is this track called? I don't remember. Is it Makai Joshi? Is that what it was? The title of the video on YouTube is in Japanese, which I can't read. But I'm pretty sure it's that. What are your thoughts, though? Did you enjoy this? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this? I'd love to know. Put all that stuff and anything else you'd like to add into the comment section below. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'd greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to. And have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.